Hi, and welcome back to the channel. This is a game called Equilinox, made by the developer Thin Matrix, who's made a couple of other games on Steam. I've played this game a couple of times now. It's a nice little isometric type sandbox where you can create a world of polygonal animals and see how they evolve and grow. It lets you just develop an ecosystem on your own terms. As with another Let's Play on this channel, this isn't intended to be very commentary heavy on my part. I'll chime in where uh, basically I feel like it's necessary, but otherwise I'll keep pretty quiet. So, without further ado, let's start a new world. We're going to call this Verbum Dictum, because that's the name of the channel. We can do a couple of different game modes. We could do normal mode, simulation, creative mode. We can also choose whether we want a dry world, something with a normal amount of water, something that's very wet, meaning a lot of oceans and lakes. Let's keep it normal. We can also choose one that's fairly smooth, or one that's normal, and one that's hilly. Let's do normal for everything, and we'll hit generate world. And you can see it says welcome to Equilinox. Click the flashing tasks tab, and we can begin. If I just click around, I'm right clicking, you can see we have an empty world, a space that we can play with, basically. I can tab around. Also zoom in and out. And just as I get acclimated, just looking at something in the controls. There we go. And I can look around like that. That's all I was looking for. Sometimes you just need to figure out how best to get acquainted with something. And you also have to know what's best for you. In this case, I'm noticing there's not a lot of water and there's a lot of hills. You can see there's this one small body here, there's a little bit there, and there's a larger body here. Having played this game before, I don't know how optimal this particular setup is. So what we're going to do, let's load verbum dictum for real, or we can just call it 2. Let's try generating a new one. You can see we have a larger body of water there, we have another one here, and we have a nice little thing there. This should be more suitable for our needs, I think. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. You can see it says 6:45, so the time just keeps progressing. I can fast forward if I want to, and it's day 1, year 1. It gives us a certain amount of points to start with, and a checklist of things that we can do. So first, we need to grow grass. To begin a new ecosystem, start by planting some simple grass. Click on the grass in the plant shop, and then place some seeds into the world. After a few seconds, the grass will grow to its full size. While you wait, you can select the grass in the world by clicking on it to see its current stats and other options. So to do that, you can see we have grass. The grass tuft is a small basic plant which spreads the grassland biome. The quick-growing plant can survive in most areas and provides food for many small creatures. It grows best in low altitudes. You can see it has the categorical nature here of grasses, small plants, and plants. And it spreads best in what's called the grassland biome. Or, I'm sorry, it rather spreads that biome across the world. The world right now is completely empty, other than land, some hilly parts, and some water. So, I think I accidentally just placed a little bit. Let's think about how we want to do this. We can do it fairly haphazard, or we can pick and choose where we want to start. I would say this part of the middle of the world seems good. So you can see it's getting a little bit more green. I'm just spreading some grass around. You can see our score meter is slowly going down. We'll do one more. We can see that our grass is indeed growing. Has a nice little art style, this game. If I click on this one, it says has a certain amount of health that will just go down after a while. It only has a short life expectancy. And then you can also evolve this into other pieces of grass: wheat, wild mint, oregano, and so on. We can also start determining the color or the size of it if we want to selectively breed something. So in this case, let's see what's next on our checklist. We get some rewards and we get the daisy. So now, flower power. Time to add some color into the world. Buy a flower from the shop and plant it. Plants in Equilinox slowly spread over the local area, so soon enough you'll have a small patch of grass and flowers. No need to buy more, they'll reproduce on their own. So let's go back into plants. You can see we have a daisy. Let's start looking around where best to put it. You can see that there's a little meter there of what's a suitable biome for it. If I go back to plants, you can see it spreads the grassland biome, and you can look for its habitat. What's suitable for it is grassland, and it likes having grasses around. So an area like this, where you can see we're already spreading quite a bit of grass, it will work fairly well. Now that we can't grow anymore for right now, let's accelerate time a little bit. And we can just watch plants grow. You can see our first one is fully grown. And you can see that there's still a lot more that we can fill in. And that task is complete. And we can get some rewards, and now we can have trees. So if we look at my first tree, you'll notice that the terrain has turned green, and this is because the grass and daisies have created a grassland biome. Different species like living in different biomes, and you can check their preferences in the species info panel. Grow a tree in the new grassland biome at a suitable altitude for this task. So we need to raise an oak tree to over 50% maturity and have one with an environmental satisfaction. That was that one metric I was showing earlier, over 70%. Then here's the oak tree. The oak tree is the most basic tree in Equilinox and has no problem growing in most areas. Many animals enjoy having this tree in their habitat. It takes much longer to grow than small plants, but also has a longer life. You can see it, rather than just a matter of hours, it actually can last over a day in game. Though it does take a while for it to actually start growing, and it likes being below 40 meters. So you can see in this low area with a lot of grass, and you can see it's highly green, they'll like this area. So let's place one down. Do need to be a little bit careful about this point system here. If you get a little overzealous at the beginning, you can actually lock yourself out of progressing basically at all. We'll go ahead and accelerate time just a bit as this tree slowly grows and the day comes to a close. We can see that that task is complete. Now the game starts expanding, and we can start uh, getting animals and more types of plants. So sheeps are now unlocked, or rather sheep instead of saying sheeps, which isn't a real world word. um, Sheep. This cute, fluffy animal loves to spend its time roaming around and eating grass or fruit if it can find any. The sheep also likes to sleep at night and is often hunted by predators. This is one of the most basic creatures in Equilinox. So you can see it's a medium herbivore. It's also just part of the herbivores and animals category. It can come in a variety of colors. And once you start having animals, then you can really start generating those points per minute, which is how you really start progressing. The plants aren't doing anything at all right now, so we do need animals. It's not like we can just have a plant-based ecosystem. And that's really what the title means. There has to be that equality essentially between flora and fauna in a natural ecosystem. You can't have one without the other. That said, this can grow on grass, and it likes having grass around because it will eat it. So we're just looking around. Let's look at the requirements once more. It likes having trees around. I'm sorry, wrong thing. And it eats grasses, as we can see. It sleeps at night, and it flees from predators, which is another mechanic we'll see later on. So we'll add 2 for right now. And as day 2 rolls over, our tree is still growing. Let's watch the plants propagate for just a little bit. And you can see our biome is really starting to become green. You can see a new tree has already started growing there, which is great for our needs. It will make our sheep happy. And you can see that those DP points are slowly starting to accumulate. I'm just pushing time forward a little bit. The beginning of this game can always be a little slow. Oh, and we can see we have a baby sheep right there. The animals just spawn new animals out of the void. And we also have more grass. So we got this achievement just by letting the world grow. So it had said, we need more grass. Plant some grass in other areas of the world to start spreading the wildlife. You can either buy new grass from the shop or choose the transplant option in the grass's action tab to move a grass tuft to a new area. Transplanting is more expensive. I generally don't use that transplant feature at all. You can see that this unlocks stones, which allows us to start expanding the types of flora and fauna that we can grow as well. We're just going to focus on this nice little dell or dale or valley or glen, whatever you would call this type of formation. I'm not a geologist. You can see that we have stones. We can start getting stoned. We also met the requirements for this, and now we have a new kind of tree and additional tasks. So you can see this starts getting exponentially a little bit more complicated. So a birch tree, a tall tree which can grow in almost any grassy areas, a lovely addition to any grassland biome. Let's put 2 down. It likes a lower altitude, of course. We'll put 1 there and 1 there. This will allow them to start spreading in our ecosystem just a bit. So as that rolls along, let's start thinking about wheat. You can use your current wildlife to unlock new species. Select a grass tuft in the world and go to the Evolution tab. You can then pay some DP to start evolving the wheat species. You'll need to meet certain requirements for the evolution process to progress. In this case, you'll need some stones nearby. Aha! And that's why we need these stones. So, here's a nice little bundle of grass. We'll start putting some stones down, and we can also just freely just start putting some random stones quite anywhere. Let's focus in this one area. See, this is a pretty healthy bit of grass, and this yellow text here indicates that we can start evolving this into wheat. We need at least 3 stones nearby. And this has a nice little timer that we'll have to wait for this to evolve. I know in practice it's not really evolution, this would be more like metamorphosis, but that's neither here nor there. I don't have millions of years to wait. Speaking of, let's progress time a little bit to the next day. And you can see, so that original organism, because grass doesn't live so long, ended up dying. So we just try again with a new piece of grass. We'll hit continue evolving, and we're almost done. We now have wheat. And here's our new wheat. You can see it on the ground here. It's generously letting us just put it anywhere. We'll put it right here. And now we have wheat in the world. To foster the spread of that, let's put down some more stones. Progress time a little bit to get some more points. You can see our sheep friends are slowly starting to expand their population. And it's another nice day in this sandbox of ours. And you can see that wheat is starting to grow. There we go. That's the nice thing about this game. You, other than really running out of points and not having any animals, which is hard to do once you get started, there's no way to fail. You can just do this at your own leisure. It's a good way to relax and just have a good time. The music helps too. Okay. There we go. So now we've met the requirements for that. There's also these tasks are also just a way to get you familiarized with the controls at the beginning. There's some fun functionality like this. You can take control of animals and move them around if you wish. Click on a sheep, go to the Actions tab, and then select the Take Control option. Check the Controls tab for information on how to control the animal's behavior. So they just need us to a sheep. Click on an animal. These all have just randomly generated names. So let's say make noise. Maybe we have to take control first. Let's look at those instructions one more time. Make noise is E. And we have made a sheep ba. We'll get some rewards for that. And now we have mushrooms. I don't know the logical chain. You can see one of our trees just died. I don't know the logical chain between sheep and mushrooms, but hey, that's the connection that the game makes. Let's see what we need to do next. There's no need to actually follow these tasks. I mean, there is if you want to keep unlocking species, but you could really just do this at your own pace. I find this is a good way to get started. Let's do this genetic modification one. When you select a plant in the world, you can see its current traits in the Traits tab. When the plant breeds, these traits get passed on to its offspring with slight variations. Clicking the selective breeding option allows you to modify the traits that get passed on. Use this to create a new stylish blue version of the daisy flower. So let's look at one of these daisies. We have one here. Its health is a little bit low, it doesn't have much time left, and there's a lot of population density, which is also affecting health. Let's focus on another one. I'll zoom out. Yeah, this one's new. We'll use this one for an example. You can see if I check selective breeding, we will click on light blue. We have plenty of points for that, and we'll hit buy. Now this doesn't always go into effect. Right away, or even at all. So it usually pays dividends to perhaps do a couple of these at once. That's just my findings. So I'll also read this for the blue color. You can also do degrees of blueness, so it can you can work your way up to that point without using all of the full amount of points, but we have plenty to spare. Okay, we'll let that do its thing, let nature do as nature does. And apparently we can do chickens. We can do chickens. So, for a chicken farm, create a suitable area for chickens to live in where they have enough food to survive and are satisfied with their environment. Then you can add your first chickens into the world. So they're going to like the wheat, but thankfully we already have plenty of wheat growing around this area. Let's see how the wheat is doing. Environment seems to be pretty good for them. I'll put down some more stones just to make sure wheat grows where we need it to in this biome. So it's also a way of just building up to the right task. And I think, if I see it correctly, we have some blue daisies. You can see this one, I'll advance time a little bit as the next day progresses. We have a couple of blue daisies. Very nice. Let's plop down some chickens. In this case, you're not really asking, we need some more points. You're not really asking what came first, the chicken or the egg. It's just chicken. We'll grab one, and you can see that there's a disliked species somewhere. So let's see what it doesn't like. The chicken is a simple bird which enjoys spending its days wandering around pecking at wheat seeds. Chickens also lay eggs, which hatch into chicks after a while. The chickens prefer to live in grassy areas where there aren't many trees and are often hunted by various predators. So it doesn't like trees. That's the one deciding factor. So in this case, what I would do is perhaps grow some wheat right around here, maybe right in this central area there, where we don't have as many trees growing, and then we can put down some chickens. So first, let's put down some wheat. We also need to be cognizant of the altitude, and that's the core of this game, is balancing a lot of species on top of each other to make everything at least reasonably happy. I mean, it's not like the chickens are going to sue me, but I still want to make sure they're not like really unhappy. We're just letting the points accumulate so we can get our first chicken. We'll grab one. In this case, since it still doesn't like the trees being so close, let's think about transplanting. I know I mentioned I don't use this that often, but that is quite expensive. It's a little bit more expensive than I would like. And you can see that there can be mutations, so something has grown with something unique. Not quite sure where that particular one was. We have a lot of plants right now, unless it was this one. It was, because this is a unique color. You can see that the color is slightly different there. It's not white. In this case, it's somewhere like a pink. Okay. Let's try it down there. We have a chicken. In this case, perhaps an egg. Oh, it's hatching from an egg. I was wrong. In this case, the egg actually does come first, not the chicken. And there's a chicken. Let's go ahead and expand this biome just a little bit. I'm going to place a little bit more grass just around there. Also make sure that there's enough stones. Perfect. And that genetic modification had completed in the background. And it unlocks a new music track, and we get brown rocks, which you have to know are the best kind of rocks. No, there's no difference, unless a certain type of plant likes one or the other, but at some point it's all aesthetics. And as day 4 comes to a close, I would say this is a good time to stop for now. We're going to save the world, and we'll pick this up in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon.